We are live.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Three Amigos, the Triple Crown, the podcast webinar with no name. I'm joined by JP, Paul Long, and I'd just like to say, gentlemen, how are you both?
Excellent, really good.
Very good. Very good.
That's really positive because I normally go, yeah, not bad.
How are you, Jeremy DuPont O'Reilly?
I'm actually pretty good. I've literally finished work for the day. I started early and this is my last job of the day. And then I've got an email to send the girls and then bosh, going to go for a run. Yeah. So what are we talking about today? Who wants to go first?
Well, I think we've got to talk about one thing first of all, haven't we? Something that happened in America, I think.
Oh,
What was that?
I don't know.
What was that?
The man Trump.
Trump, yeah. Trumpy. Now,
I mean, let's be honest. We're all probably going to get cancelled for mentioning. There's going to be people who are offended no matter what we say. So, to all those people, stuff you. Don't care.
You know what? I'm just going to be really honest, right? So when he first came on the scene, I thought he was terrible. He's going to 2015, 2016. I thought, this is terrible. It's all going to end in tears, blah blah. And it may well do now. But I think, like we were talking off air, really, it was the best of bad choices. Really, like I know everyone. And the great thing about democracy is we get a chance to vote. So we should always uphold that. And I do believe that, like, if we disagreed, we can disagree agreeably, hopefully. You know
and that's what really frustrates me about people, where just because you've got a different opinion, they will unfriend you. I have never unfriended. I mean, look, I come from probably one of the most dominant areas of political, one of the sides in the UK, right? The collieries of the Northeast. You could put a horse's head running as the Labour candidate and it would win, right? And I'll be honest, I don't vote Labour, right? However, I've never fallen out with any of my mates over it. Like, I unfriended them, and yeah, they might have not talked to me for a bit, but I think you can agree, and I think it's healthy to agree. Yeah. And I don't want to go all like, quote all Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro and all that, but when you stop debating things, regardless of whether you disagree, that's when violence and all that sort of stuff comes to the forefront. So long as we're talking about stuff, respectfully and peacefully, then that's a positive thing for society in my mind.
What was your take on it all, Paul? On the,
I just thought it's so interesting how obviously two countries are so different. Can you imagine this happening in our country, where, for example, someone who pretty much got to his stage of being convicted for all these things got into power again? I just can't see it happening. Where out there it can, it just shows how two lots of people are so different. I could never see that happening in the UK.
They're very like fly by the seats of the pants, the Americans, and a lot of things, aren't they? Where over here we're like structure, tradition.
Yeah. Won't forgive. We wouldn't forgive. You can't come back into power because you've done this and that. It's look at Boris Johnson. Even though a lot of people liked him and probably would have him back, they wouldn't because of what he did. But in America, it's totally different, isn't it?
There was a story I got told years and years and years ago, and it was by one of our Irish landlords, and he said, "This is the difference between America and the UK. If there's an American or a British person or an Englishman walking past, and they saw a guy building a house, and he had a beautiful big house on the hillside, and had the picket fence and 6-7 bedrooms, swimming pool. The American go, look at that! Wow, you go for it, buddy. You've done really well." And the Englishman will say, "Wow, I wonder who he ripped off to build that."
How did he get planning permission? Probably. We struggled to build a home office. You know what I mean? That was like World War III. You know what though? It is interesting when you look at elections, because I actually think estate agents or any businesses can learn a lot from politics.
Yeah.
Like especially successful campaigns like what Trump did, and to a degree what I think anyone would have beat the last Conservative government, to be fair.
Yeah.
But like sticking to a message and repeating it over and over again. And it could be we offer the best quality in the town. Do you know what I mean? But really have core messages.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that really struck me about this campaign with Trump was he went where he knew his audience were. He went he thought, I want to win male votes. So he did the podcast. Him and the other fella, JD Vance, did the podcast rounds. And Kamala Harris and the other fella for her Vice President Walz, they didn't.
They were invited as well.
Yeah. I heard Joe Rogan saying, look, I'll have them on same time, the same time slot. They can talk as long as they want. And I just think sometimes agents got to think that. They say, where's the best place to market? Well, where's your ideal audience hanging out? Is it Facebook? Is it they like printed media? There might be an older person. So things like that, I think we can learn from.
I read somewhere quite interestingly, the Amish, the Amish.
Yeah.
Apparently the Democrats, let me get this right. Yeah, the Democrats, which is Kamala Harris, isn't it? Joe Biden. Yeah. They had, is that right? Anyway, Joe Biden had done some sort of tax thing that had messed over quite a lot of the farmers. Well, obviously the Amish not allowing to use like electricity and whatnot, it screwed them over quite a lot. So that's where Trump targeted quite a lot to try and win their votes. You think a couple of Amish, apparently there's over 1 million of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
This is a great point. And funnily enough, I was saying this about my dyslexia guide. And somebody says to me, it's a bit niche. It's not niche. There's something like 6 million people suffering from degrees of dyslexia in this country. Not suffering, living with or succeeding with, whatever you want to say. So estate agents got to factor that in. Factor visibility on your website in. Do you know what I mean? Make it as accessible as possible. So that's really interesting about the Amish. Wouldn't you like to see, I tell you what would be great if we did a field trip, us three, over there for a week as the Amish. Great though, wouldn't it? You could sort of chill out and think, what are you going to do? I'm just going to, I don't know, build a church building.
One point you said there, which I think is a real good point, is that you can't market to everyone, can you? I think that's what he does very well. He identifies his audience, and then his messages and marketing is dialed in. And I think that's something that agents are very guilty of, is trying to market to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lesson.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, especially when it's around price. And they go, but that'll be too expensive for that order. Well, for others, 1.5 is nothing as long as you sell my house. Yeah. I don't care. Sell my house. I'll pay you 2% if you sell my house for that price. So yeah. But no. So that's that. So we've got just about to get bumpy with Trumpy. And what else is on the agenda? What we've got, Paul? You came up with it. That's a good line. What you said. Don't forget that line you said before the start. We recorded. Do you remember?
Which one was that?
It was about what you're going to talk about research.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. There's one good line. Yeah. So I want to talk about is estate agency evolving from relationships to research? And the reason I want to share what I saw online the other day. It's in America, but they have all the good data. And it was a company called 1000 Watt Marketing, who are quite big over there for research. And they did some research on how people choose their estate agents. And of course, we know how many people in America, how many real estate agents. So I thought I'd just share. I hope I can share this because I think it will look good. Let me see if we've got this. This is where I probably crashed the whole of the UK. So there we go. Right. So I hope you can see this now. Can you see that? Or your end? Yeah. So this is how people are now choosing their real estate agents to help sell their property. Now, what's really interesting is that what we all expect is normal. 34% they were referred by a friend or family member, which is important to know anyway. But 28% and 15% was researched agents online, so reviews, transaction histories, and 15% use an online agent finding or matching service. So I think what's really interesting there is, hopefully that stops sharing. What's interesting there is how consumers are now, doing their research more than ever. The data's there, and I think, getting those reviews, getting your sales showing in the right places, and is more important than ever because consumers have got access to do that research. So I found that quite interesting. I think also going back to the referral side, and I think a strong referral system, getting your reviews into shape is so important. I wonder if, Jerry, I know you're hot on reviews, sort of some tips there maybe that you can share that's worked for you.
First of all, just keep asking. I know it sounds basic, but make it as easy as possible, like via a link. Google do it, you can copy and paste. I like WhatsApping or text messaging, asking for a review rather than emailing. These are brilliant, by the way. Rev card for agents. I've never used this in my. Actually, I think I used it at our event. You tap it on someone's phone, it takes them directly to your Google review page. So imagine there's an agent, you handing over the keys, everyone's buzzing. You go, "Oh, do you mind?" They can do it there and then. You could always sort of tell them, well, not tell them what to write, but you could, because people go, "Well, what do you want me to write?" Well, tell us about your experience. So they're called. This brand is called Rev Cards, but there's loads out there.
Questions, aren't they? You mentioned just their questions. I think rather than just saying give us a review and they tell them what you want them to pretty much say by asking the questions, I think that works really well.
Yeah, and from listening to our members, they say make it personal. So if you're working for a company, sort of say, would you do me a big favor? Not you're not doing the agency, you're not doing whatever the company's called a favor. You're doing the person, especially if one of my members said, if you've had a good lot of interaction, he said 9 times out of 10 they'll do it straight away. The person will leave you a review straight away. I've got to be honest, I think the only show in town when it comes to reviews, I could be wrong, but I think it's Google.
It benefits you in so many ways, the Google reviews, when you can get them. Not just for, when people do their research, that's the first bit, isn't it? They will put in, best estate agents in whatever location, and they'll come up and they'll look to see who's got the most reviews, but also your listings benefit from that anyway on your website. The other thing that I can throw into that, which is really powerful, very hard to get, is video. If you can get video from a client, it is so powerful because it's user generated content. People believe it more. And also, if they're recording it, they're seeing a familiar face. They might put it on their own social platforms. It's just so powerful.
Rare. And it's quite rare. I'm struggling to think of agents that I've seen use it really well. There's a few out there on their website. They've done really good jobs. But you imagine if you could take your phone out and say, "Can you give me 30 seconds to camera?"
Do you know how I would do it? I think there's a much easier way. I think when someone moves into a property, you can have a process where you say, "Oh, we'll give you a quick Zoom call a few days after you've moved in, just to check everything's okay and that," and try and get them onto a Zoom call for some sort of reason. And then whilst you're on the Zoom call, you can throw in, "Oh, by the way, can I just ask you a few questions on how you got on with us?" So there's some way to get people onto a Zoom call. Maybe it's an after sales checkup or whatever. That would work well. You can cut out the review from the Zoom call.
There's a good way of trying to get people to feel obliged to giving you a review. So you've had a few interactions with them. You would say, "Oh, hi, Jeremy, hope you had a good interaction. There's a bit of a competition going on in the office where the person who gets the most Google reviews at the end of the month wins a prize or whatever. Would you mind giving me a review?" And then you tap it on. So now there's something that you can win or won't win if they don't give you a review. So I think it kind of puts a bit more pressure on them in a good way.
Yeah. And you know what, as well, people need to think about, you can ask your contractors for reviews. There's nothing Google's, because they worked with you. It's about relationships. We because we do a lot of charitable donations, we ask community groups to review us that benefit. So that's bumped us up. I think we're about 230 odd 5-star reviews now. And there's some agencies out there, Google reviews, I know we spoke about it before, it's unbelievable. They've got like 1,500, 4.8, 4.9 average. That's brilliant. Brilliant.
And do you know what they're doing? They're asking at every opportunity. So rather than looking at, we only ask reviews at the end of the transaction when someone moves into a property, even if someone just calls up and says, "Oh, my boiler's broken down, can you get a plumber out?" And the person dealing with it deals with it, and they say, "Thank you, you've been so helpful." At that point, as soon as I hear that word, "Thank you, you've been so helpful. Oh, by the way, would you mind doing a review on how I processed your need?" So that's what they're doing.
It's interesting this about research over relationships. So I thought that was fascinating. That I took a screenshot of it. I thought it was really good. But it ties in with what I wanted to speak about a bit today. Is that obviously we're in award season now. So I think we've had how many have we had? We've had Estes, we've had EA Masters, we've got the Negotiator coming up.
EA Master, Sally's Agent Rainmaker.
Yep.
You know what? I've got to be honest. I don't consider that one of the.
I know. I was just saying. As soon as I said it, I thought because you've got to be like, and this is no disrespect. It just is what it is. You've got to be a client of hers, haven't you?
So that one's meaningless to me.
Yeah.
So there you have it. but to me, it's just my opinion. We're allowed to disagree, folks.
Yeah. Don't be offended.
USA.
Fair enough. Cancel. If somebody cancelled me, I'd go like, "Oh, where's the result?" Brilliant. I don't have to do anything. But so I asked my group, and this is a very small straw poll, and I did it like in the last 45 minutes. And I asked them what are the best agency awards to win. So there's about 110 members in this group, and it was a choice between the Estes, the Negotiator, EA Masters, local community awards, or something else. Now it turns out something else. Somebody said that RAN, Relocation Agent Network, was their most popular one to win. Can you have a guess which one topped? By quite a few votes, actually.
I reckon they'll say the Estes because it's voted for by the tenants and the landlords.
What do you say, Paul?
I am going to say, I think I might have heard you mention something earlier, but I'm going to say local.
I think it's local. But I think people like the Estes.
Well, why was that Irish fella? Was it catchphrase? He said, "It's good, but it's not right."
Yes.
Remember that fella? Yeah. So yeah, it's good, but it's not right, lads.
Oh.
So it was EA Masters. What the members have said, that's the best agency awards to win. But what you're saying is very interesting because one person has said, although I think the EA Masters are the best to win, I honestly don't think the public understands the difference between any of them.
Right.
I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
You can really muddy the water. And there's a bit of cynicism involved to say you win one award, you're always an award-winning agent. No one comes and takes the award back. You've always got it. You've always got it. But somebody else said something that was very interesting, I thought, and it was about local community awards. They said that would be the one for me. So I just think it's interesting, and they've all got their merits. Before we get people going, but this and that, they've all got their merits. But I think they've all got. I think the flaw with the big three is you have to part with money in some way to get it.
Yeah,
I think money.
Money, and I think there's too many given out. I think I think they're brilliant, and our family business has won awards recently, and it's got to the stage now, but everyone's winning awards. So I think that needs to be more controlled and selective.
It's a bit like the boxing belts, Jerry, isn't it? It's like which one carries credibility. Yeah,
that's a great analogy. IBO, IBF, it's like really WBC.
Really, yeah. WBC. We won the EA Masters in 2014, and then 4 years we won the best in the North. I think we're never out the best in the top 3 training development in the UK for 3 or 4 years in a row. And then I think we stopped advertising in 16 or 17. I think that's when it swapped to the anyway. So we're in quite a good place. And for me, the EA Masters, I always enjoyed them. The Sunday Times. We never went into the Estes or the Negotiator. I do know somebody, I won't mention any names, that basically kind of said they cheated and got loads of people to vote for them on the Estes, like the reviews and stuff. I think there's you can cheat and you can bullshit and cheat your way around any award. I think you can do anything, isn't it? It's very difficult. I was judging one, the Coho Awards, which is for like HMO management. Van, he's a pal of mine. He's built this Coho software and he's got these awards. And I was asked to judge them, and I was asking for like business stuff, like P&Ls and blah blah blah, and that ruffled a few feathers. And we had to like kind of filter it down, water it down a little bit. Where it was like just give me your top line stuff, not like because I was going to have a look. Because I know people who've won certain awards. I won't name the awards or the people, and they've gone bust, or they're in financial trouble, or they don't know what they're doing, and just because they're good at marketing and chucking stuff out there, they win these awards, and that's fine. And I suppose you take the rough to the smooth, but it does put a little bit of a dark cloud over those awards.
I think I think though, you know, like if you do win or do get shortlisted, there are opportunities, but they tend to be quite short-term publicity opportunities. You know, and like Paul said there's so many that people, the public, we know the awards, and we know but the public are like, what? Really? How's that matter to me? One I would say is apparently, and I've only just found out this morning, and I can't believe it. I think I've heard it before it rings a bell. There's an award out there that says you've won in your area. If you found and go, well, I don't want it, they go,
yeah,
crazy.
Something property awards or something like that, isn't it? Or something.
All right, but but yeah, but I think it's interesting because if you can win an award and have really good Google reviews, it's going back to Paul's research point, have loads of testimonials, video testimonials, that's going to help you. And even so they kind of disprove my point that awards do have a little bit of a place, but I'd only be that concerned about winning one and then just saying I'm an award-winning agent and just keeping my game after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, good point. I think the local ones, Tom Tarver's just won Eversham Entrepreneur of the Year.
For me, that's the best one. I know I've seen Tom; he's a client of mine as well. When we saw, I thought that's a brilliant award to win.
Yeah,
because that's local. People trust local more than they trust national.
Definitely.
It's just that's just the nature of the beast. My friend Nick Allen, who you know, JP, he's got his big community event this Friday, and by big I mean it's massive. There'll be like something like 500, 600 people there. My local heroes, they call it, and it's all community awards, and it's just the community love it. So what Tom did there it's brilliant. It's brilliant. If he can tell a good story around it as well, and why him winning that award makes him a better estate agent for Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones and Miss Patel and that sort of thing. It's like I said to Chris Watkin, I said, you know, when he's banging on about pie charts, I said, Chris, it's not about the pie, it's about the why behind the pie. Why have you got that much of the pie? If you can say we've got the biggest market share and it's because we do X, Y, Z, we've got the best sales progression, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, what's your thing that you want to talk about today, JP? What's on your mind?
So on my mind, I actually posted in my group about motivation, about how to motivate your team. I think I'm seeing a lot of people, business owners as well as their team, if you like, are saying, I'm not motivated, coming to the end of the year, blah, blah, blah. But I always think that when others are kind of sort of winding down, you should be actually speeding up because you'll gain a lot more distance between you and them if you're ahead, or you can catch them up. So really chatting about like how to motivate your team. So your team is very much, they're not business owners, right? So they do have to be motivated. They don't have the discipline you do. You know, as a business owner, leader, we should have discipline. So it doesn't matter how we feel, we just do it anyway, regardless. But when you have a team, you've got to motivate them. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's a guy called Alderfer, McClellan, Hertzberg. They all talk about the same thing, different words, but it means the same thing. Achievement, attainment, ambition. Maslow called it self-actualization, I being the best version of you. Excuse me. So what motivates people is attaining something, achieving something, being the best that you can be. You only know if you're the best if you're constantly hitting and surpassing your goals. And that's what motivates people. Nobody goes to work to be shit. Nobody goes to work to be the worst that they can be, regardless of if they give it the old victim elder, oh, I don't like my job, I don't care. Yeah, really? When you boil down to it, do you really like being hauled over the coals and being the worst person on the production line or the worst person in the office? No. You want to be top dog, walking around the office, hitting your goals, surpassing your goals, and you earn respect that way. So you do that by setting goals, short, medium, and long term. So short term, my definition, a month or under. So, you know, did you manage to get that conversion of your valuations to listings? Did you reduce your arrears a little bit? You know, medium is probably a month to 3 months. Did you implement that project? Did you research these 5 tech projects, whatever it is? And then long term is something about, you know, 3 months to a year. So, you know, your long term is like that for about a year. Your medium term changes every 3 months, and it's just those little bursts of projects, little bursts of achieving something. And then you've got your monthlies, which is you talk about in your one-to-ones. You set the goals. You see if they've got the resources, if you've got the training, if you've got everything you need to achieve it. Yeah, great. Now I'm going to coach you. That is motivating people. It's inspiring. You look at any successful sports person or any successful business person, you know, when people say, oh, they've got all the money in the world, what motivates them? It's not motivation. It's not the money, it's the power, isn't it? When you talk about the boxing, it's like, well, why do you keep wanting to go up the ranks? You're a regional champion, you're a national champion, you're European, you're Commonwealth, you're world champion. Well, if you won the British, how many people go, I'm British champion, I can relax? Everybody wants to go further and further and further. Whether it's like, you know, you're stepping up a class in weight or you better competition, whatever it is. But I don't think people fundamentally put that much importance on it. I think they just kind of, in fact, I know they do. I don't know why I'm saying that. I know that people go, I haven't got time to train them. They should be like that anyway. That's a little bit like saying, I'm not potty training my kid. He should learn not how to shit all over the carpet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got to train your kids. And I'm a big fan of like this parental leadership where you treat and train you lead and manage your people like you train your kids. You've got to constantly train them.
It's interesting because somebody said to me the other day about micromanaging, and I went, that's not micromanaging. That's just me making sure you've got attention to detail.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean? And I thought it was really interesting. So I thought, okay, you're seeing it as micromanaging, but especially with new, and Wendy used to do this sort of training, this management training. Said at the start, you've got to micromanage certain people. You have to like make sure they're doing everything right, and and this is how we do it. And this, then obviously you don't look over their shoulder all the time. But I was at one of my uncle's funerals a couple of weeks ago, and the priest said a line that I thought, that's brilliant. That is absolutely, I want to get that in a rap song. And it was, attention to detail is an act of love.
Yeah.
Just think about that, and you got to let that one sit right, because I know sometimes I don't give as much attention to detail to stuff, but trust me, if it's getting Charlotte's football stuff ready, I know she loves it. I love taking her. I'll make sure everything is proper, ready to go. If I'm doing a project at work that I really like the client, love what they're doing, I'll pay that little bit extra attention to detail. I'll go back and think, oh, could that have been better? Does that make sense? Yeah,
makes perfect sense. If you're passionate about something, you put more into it. You just do.
Yeah. And I know we've spoken about it in the past, about this thing where passionate about property is such a common strapline. Don't get me wrong, I've come across estate agents who they love property. But my definition is passion. Would you do it for free?
Yeah.
Would you do it for free? If you were that passionate, I wouldn't do content writing for free. Somebody said, write me a blog for free. It's not happening, mate. At least bribe me with some food or something. You know what I mean? Just give me something.
I see a lot of estate agents go, they haven't got the time. They have. Everyone's got the time. It's priorities. And then I think it boils down to, look, I get it, Mr. Leader. You don't know how to train them. It's not your skill set. You find it boring. Other things have got shiny penny syndrome. You want to work on other stuff. But you've got to boil it down to important and urgent. And training your team to be better is a short-term pain, but for medium and long-term gain. You know, you train your team now, it's like anything. It's like you put the bedrock into your kids at a certain age, they're going to grow up to find young men and women. If you're going to like let them do whatever and roll in at 10 o'clock at a night when they're 10-year-old and all that sort of stuff, don't be surprised when they get a knock on the door when they're 17 and it's a policeman dropping them off saying he's being pinching. You know, you put the effort in at the young age, and it's not the age of the person, it's the age of their development. And development in a business can be a 30-year-old, 40-year-old grown woman, but development of the business and how you work is on day one. And I don't think enough is put into that.
No, it's
kind of forgotten about.
It's interesting. Any other business, as they say in council meetings?
No, I think that's a good marker. We're at 30-minute mark. I think that's spot on.
No,
so
good.
What we're going to summarise, you've got to lead and train your teams.
Yeah. All the words are crap. No, they're
not. Paul, what would yours be? Your little.
I think look at your reviews and look at your online status. You know, with regards to how your business is looking. So I think it's the online reviews side.
Yeah. And I would just echo that priest's words: attention to detail. I think all the best agents have it. I think all the best, everyone has it. If you're the best at what you do, you normally have a level. They always say about Pep Guardiola. I know they're going through a dark spell at the moment, which I'm not crying any tears about. But apparently, he's got insane attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah. So anyway, pleasure as always. I'm off for a run now.
Enjoy your run. Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, Paul.